Taylor Kitsch. Taylor Kitsch should have been a star. He had everything: looks, charisma, a breakout TV role that screamed potential. Friday Night Lights made him the guy everyone thought was next, the one destined to lead franchises. Then came John Carter, a $250 million gamble that tanked harder than anyone expected, not because he was bad, but because the movie was dead before it even started. Marketing chaos, studio panic, a misfire dressed as destiny. Battleship followed. $220 million budget. Another disaster. Hollywood doesn't forgive twice in 12 months. In another universe, those two movies explode at the box office. Taylor Kitsch becomes the face of a generation. But that universe isn't this one. He didn't lose talent. He lost timing. 1 year took him from rising lead to whatever happened to that guy territory. Now he's rebuilding quietly. Solid performances, no spotlight. But the magic window closed. And in Hollywood, once it closes, it almost never reopens. Taylor Kitsch didn't fail. The system did. He just happened to be standing in the blast radius. Josh Hartnett. Josh Hartnett didn't disappear. He walked away. Early 2000s. Pearl Harbor, Black Hawk Down, 40 Days and 40 Nights. The studios lined up, the headlines crowned him Hollywood's next golden boy. He had it, that untouchable mix of charm and mystery. Then came the offers. Spider-Man. Batman Begins. Superman Returns. He said no to all of them, not out of arrogance, out of fear. He didn't want to be owned by a franchise. He wanted control, authenticity, freedom. But Hollywood doesn't like that word freedom. While others built empires off capes and comic books, Hartnett drifted into the indie shadows. Small films, quiet performances, art over audiences, noble choices that cost him everything mainstream. He could have been a household name. Instead, he became a ghost. Sometimes success isn't lost, it's declined. Josh Hartnett didn't burn out. He just refused to light the match. Lindsay Lohan wasn't supposed to fade. She was supposed to reign. By 18, she'd already done what most actors spend lifetimes chasing. Mean Girls, Freaky Friday, Herbie, fully loaded. She was Hollywood's golden child, a blend of charisma and chaos that felt electric on screen. Every studio wanted her. Every tabloid followed her. She wasn't acting anymore. She was orbiting fame itself. But fame has gravity, and gravity always wins. The late night parties, the DUIS, the mugshots, the whispers of unreliable, difficult, done. The headlines became her career, and the career became a punchline. Hollywood doesn't pause to let you fix yourself. It just moves on without you. By the time she tried to come back, her name carried more scandal than star power, and yet there's still something magnetic about her. Even at her worst, she feels like a movie star. That's the cruel part. The screen loved her more than the world ever did. In another timeline, Lindsay Lohan wins Oscars. She ages into her generation's Julia Roberts. She becomes legendary. But in this one, she became a warning. Talent can launch you into orbit. Discipline keeps you there. Lohan had talent, not discipline, and Hollywood never forgets which. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf didn't rise, he erupted. From Disney kid to global box office magnet, Transformers, Indiana Jones, Fury. He had the kind of intensity you can't fake, the kind that turns cameras into confession booths. Every role looked like therapy, every line like an outburst waiting to happen. For a while, it worked. He wasn't just famous, he was alive on screen. The industry called him unpredictable. You couldn't look away. Then came the spiral. Arrests, fights, public meltdowns. The performance art phase that felt less like rebellion and more like a slow-motion implosion. Hollywood loves a rebel, but not one it can't control. Studios stopped calling. The kid who once carried billion-dollar franchises became a liability with a camera. Shia LaBeouf is the embodiment of self-destruction in 4K. Too raw for comfort, too unstable for the system. Hollywood wanted a star. Shia gave them a mirror, and they couldn't stand the reflection. Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer looked like Hollywood royalty. Square jaw, perfect smile, that old-school movie star presence. When he played the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network, it felt like a prophecy. The next leading man had arrived. Two of him, actually. Then Call Me By Your Name happened. Critical acclaim, Oscar buzz. For a moment, everything aligned. The looks, the talent, the timing, the kind of momentum that turns good careers into golden ones. And then everything imploded. The scandals hit like a wrecking ball. Allegations, headlines, cancellations. Within months, the industry that once chased him couldn't drop him fast enough. Studios erased his name, agents disappeared. His roles were quietly recast. Armie Hammer didn't fade, he was erased. He went from the next Brad Pitt to where is he now? Almost overnight. In Hollywood, image is currency, and once it's tainted, no amount of talent can clean it. A career built on perfection, undone by revelation, the kind of ending even Hollywood wouldn't dare to script. Hayden Christensen was supposed to be untouchable, the man who was chosen to become Anakin Skywalker, the future Darth Vader, the most iconic villain in film history, the bridge between myth and legend. Every actor dreams of a role that defines a generation. He got one that defined cinema. And then the internet turned on him. The dialogue, the delivery, the awkwardness. Fans ripped him apart before he could even grow into the part. Nobody cared that the script was stiff or the direction robotic. He became the scapegoat for everything wrong with Star Wars. Hayden didn't crash because he was bad. He crashed because he was visible. Every flaw magnified. Fame without mercy. After Revenge of the Sith, he vanished. Retreated into quiet life, small projects, the occasional comeback that never quite stuck. Time softened the hate. The fans grew up, some even apologized. But in Hollywood, nostalgia doesn't rebuild what cynicism destroyed. He returned years later for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The cheers were loud. The redemption arc is complete. But Hayden Christensen was never the villain. He just played one too early in a world that wasn't ready to forgive. By the time they were, the moment had passed. Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner was a phenomenon. When Twilight hit, he wasn't just Jacob Black, he was the poster boy of teenage obsession, shirtless scenes, magazine covers, screaming crowds. Overnight, he became a global fantasy, the kind of fame that burns white-hot and fast. But fame built on hysteria has an expiration date, and when the vampire craze died, so did the spotlight. He tried Abduction, Tracers, a few action flicks that never landed. Each one felt like Hollywood testing him, asking, "Can you exist without the abs?" The answer came back silent. He wasn't bad, just miscast by an industry that only saw one version of him. When he tried to evolve, the audience had already moved on. Then he disappeared. No scandals, just a quiet retreat, marriage, peace, normalcy. There's something poetic about that. The kid who lived in global chaos finally chose calm. Taylor Lautner didn't fall. He stepped off the ride. He walked away from the noise. And maybe that's the most grown-up role he ever played. Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. reached the mountaintop early. Jerry Maguire was a cultural earthquake. He won the Oscar. Danced on stage. Hollywood crowned him. And that's the thing about crowns. They're heavy. After that night, everything he chose seemed smaller. Snow Dogs, Boat Trip, Daddy Day Camp. Each one chipped away at the legend he could have been. He had the energy, the charisma, the talent. What he didn't have was restraint. The industry gave him gold. He spent it on noise. Then came the controversies, the legal troubles, the quiet exile. By the time the dust settled, the Oscar felt like a curse. Proof that he had it once, and proof that he lost it. Cuba Gooding Jr. isn't a story of failure. He's a story of how fast momentum builds and how brutally it stops. One night of glory, 2 decades of chasing it, he showed us the money, and then he showed us what happens after it's gone.